collar world. Keep in touch with what happens with Jimmy Moore when he comes back from his sabbatical. We have great hopes for that he's going to get some healing going on that will help him. Did you have a question, Thomas?
Well, you asked if you had input, it's something that might work for you.
Thank you.
It won't work for most of the people in this room probably, but as a former controller and a cyclist, I found MyFitnessPal very helpful because I used it to our advantage. I set the macros based on keto lifestyle. I set the protein where I wanted it to be. I set the carbs where I wanted to be because I wanted some carbs with very low carbs. And I set the fat levels where I wanted to be with the help of my wife because I'm not that good at it. And then I adjusted it when I got to maintenance. But to me, it's changed my whole life. But as a guy that used to deal with numbers as a controller, I felt more comfortable tracking it. I felt like I was in control by tracking it.
How many of you track your macros?
I do sometimes.
Do you write it down? You have it all written down and you're really keeping track on it? I don't anymore. It's not my thing. I just, what's working for me right now is that I'll eat bacon. I'll grab a ribeye. You know, I don't even try to think about what I'm going to eat. I'll just have that steak or have that egg or that bacon and things like that. And then I get on with other things in my life. You know, I try not to spend my whole being thinking about food and what I'm going to eat next and that kind of thing. And that's unusual because I think about food all the time. I'd leave work thinking, what am I going to eat tonight? You know, like that. How many exercise? Okay.
Exercise at work.
Not as many as fasting. Yeah. I don't get the exercising in. I feel better when I do, but I don't get it in. You guys exercise?
No, I was going to say one thing is snacking and nuts and adding calories and stuff. If you're going into the kitchen, don't have snacks available and think about having a meal rather than just a snack.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's
If you're hungry enough to snack, maybe you should be eating a meal or wait until the meal.
all right. Any other tips, advice, what's working for you you'd like to share?
Sometimes in the mornings, because I do intermittent fasting, but if I need, I feel hungry, I'll just swallow a coconut oil.
Oh, I do that too. There are some of those products out there by Adapt, by Dr. Westman and Glenn Finkel that has some good, things. I will have some of their fat, little packets and things like that will work, that will get you through that.
I have never tried this myself because I don't have this problem of like getting hungry. I just don't. But apparently, this is according to Jimmy Moore. If you take some salt, it passes. If you get, it'll just pass. Give it a second, and your hunger will pass.
I have a little container of pink Himalaya rock salt sitting at my desk. And if I start thinking again that I need a snack or I need to go into the kitchen and see what's there and stuff like that, I'll just crunch on a little bit of that. It works for me that way. Anything?
Yeah, I was just going to say that one of the big things is what drives you to eat. Is it actual hunger or is it a need to soothe? And you have to treat those differently. Because you can be totally bursting at the seams full and still shove more food in. So you got to look at that too.
Yeah, Lauren.
When I'm fasting, I always have to ask myself, what's hungry?
Right.
And I'd say 7 times out of 10, it's my mouth that's hungry, not my stomach.
So true.
There's a difference.
And
Mine is more mental.
If you stop and think about it, and that kind of kills it. If that still is a hunger, I use Dr. Fung's advice. Take a glass of water, drink it slowly, because hunger comes in waves and it goes away. And typically that hunger pang is gone by the time you've finished a glass of water.
Oh, good advice.
You brought up the mental hunger. I think a lot of times a tip that I have for people on hunger is to stop and say, what is it that I really need right now? And a lot of times the answer to that is, dang, I'm lonely. I'm really tired. What I need is rest. And if your whole life you have used food to answer those needs, your body is going to stimulate something that feels like hunger, but it's head hunger. It's not an actual hunger where your body needs food.
Yeah. You'll go ahead and introduce yourself. I didn't bring my thing up here.
Okay, that's
Tell me
okay.
about,
I thought you were going to do it, so I didn't think.
go ahead and introduce you and Clara and tell us about your background and all that kind of stuff. It's fascinating. And Jessyca and
No
Clara.
Oh, that's no pressure. So I don't want to talk that much about me today because I will on Thursday, and there will be plenty. You'll be tired of it. But I am Jessyca Reynolds, also known as Coach Jessyca online. My family and I have been keto going on 4 years. When I say my family and I, myself, my husband, Clara, my older daughter, and her husband. We do have a grandson, and he is not yet keto, but that's because it's not up to me. So we're a keto family, and it was that trickle effect, like Nancy said. You know, I was keto, and then other people became keto. But I have a background of pretty severe mental health issues and eating disorders, and I'll talk a lot about that on Thursday. But this is my daughter Clara. She is 12 years old. In the world of social media, she is super keto Clara. So if you are on Instagram or Facebook, you can look her up there. But we want to talk about Clara's ketogenic diet. We're going to talk about how that kind of led up to doing that. A lot of people are very surprised. A lot of people here have said, is Clara keto? Lots of people. And they're surprised when I say yes, 3 years. I should probably use slides. I always start talking, I forget there's any slides. Yeah. So yeah, this is Super Keto Clara. And I said also known as my hero. I am a ketogenic lifestyle coach. I'm certified in holistic nutrition and also in cognitive behavioral therapy for eating disorders. So I work with clients the last 3 years. I've had a few hundred clients, a few thousand hours, but this is the story that's most personal to us, and we have not told it publicly before. Clara's been interviewed by Jillian Solos, and that is online if you want to look it up. It's just look up Super Keto Clara and Jillian Solos. But she's my hero because I work with people every single day on getting them started on a ketogenic diet and staying on a ketogenic diet for many different reasons, usually for mental health issues or for eating disorders. And there's always reasons why they can't do it. Always. There's always an excuse or reason. Here's why I couldn't, but I can't do it here, and I can't do it there, and I can't do it at the holidays, and I can't do it when I go to the beach, and I can't do it when I go here. And one of the things that inspires me, it doesn't make me judge them, but it inspires me, is that Clara's 3 years keto, and she's never ever eaten a bite of anything off plan, even when she hasn't been in my presence. And so what that has taught me is that if your motivation is enough, you can do it anywhere, any place. There's no actual reason why you ever have to eat off plan. So Clara's motivation is that she has epilepsy, and she knows the difference in how she feels when she eats well, and she knows if even just having a few extra keto carbs can be an issue for her. So if you are properly motivated, there is never a reason to eat something that is going to be bad for your body. And Clara is proof of that. You want to say anything? Not yet. No. You say hey. All right, click me. All right, so do you love that Bitmoji? I designed that. I'm so proud of it because it looks just like her. I'm an artist also. Here,
Point it
look
out
at
with
this
your
one. No, here. I can do it manually also. Okay.
Any remote?
All right. So who is Clara? What makes her super? I know everyone thinks their kids are super, and I'm sure they are. What makes her super is she is 12 years old. She is the daughter of me, Coach Jessyca, and her daddy is the Keto Sasquatch. Also, if you're online, you can look him up. He's got his own inspiring story. Her best friend is her Maltese dog, Toby. He's a rescue dog, and he has his own Instagram page also, Tobias Leonidas Reynolds. He's Toby the Maltese. This is a new territory for us. We're doing 7th grade online. That's how she's able to be with me this week. Claire's very, very smart, and I guess I said that, huh? She reads at a college level. Overall, 11.5 grade level for all subjects. And one of the things we found with school is that even in private school, she just does the same work that everybody else does. So we're doing online school. She can do it at her pace. And she's also able to travel with me when we have the opportunity. It's been great so far. She was diagnosed with epilepsy soon after turning 5 years old. So if you do the math, that's about 7 years of dealing with epilepsy and seizures. This is huge. Celebrating her 3-year Keto-versary while we're here on the cruise, October 1st. She's maintained her strict ketogenic diet without exception for the last 3 years. It can be done, folks. She's remained seizure-free for over a year and a half with only 2 seizures total in the last 3 years since going keto. She's gone from 6 pills a day for 5 years to now only 1/4 of 1 dose of meds and 0 seizures. And I'm so proud of her because she openly shares her story and inspires many people on social media. She's more outgoing on social media, like everyone else. I think when we stand up in front of a group of people, it makes us nervous for sure. But I'm so proud of her. She has her own pages. People say, oh, that was the funniest thing, or they think I write the things that she writes. I'm like, no, that's all her. So anyway, she's super because she's such an example of living this lifestyle and proper motivation for staying this way. So Clara's story, you can see she was a cute, sweet little princess baby. Our older daughter is in her 20s, and so Clara was born when Lauren was 17, so there's a pretty big age gap. So they were both like only children. So the first couple of pictures when she was little, she was 1. The second picture is her 5th birthday. That was right before she was diagnosed with epilepsy. And I put that picture there because I wanted to show some pictures of how she changed. But anyway, just an awesome kid, normal, beautiful. And so this is Clara. She was leaving the hospital after being in there for a while after her seizures. You can see, I think this picture shows a lot. She's tired, but her facial expression changed. After about a year of being on meds, you see that first picture? She's swollen. And I think, she did gain 12 pounds the first year she was on meds on a little bitty body that really does show in your face. She also wasn't very happy. She had pretty severe mood swings. We tried a bunch of different meds, and she just struggled. She would fall apart all the time, crying for no reason. The side effects from the meds made her swell. But I also think she gave into emotional eating because she was in a house with my husband and I, and we were food addicts. So she saw that behavior. She gave into that to kind of soothe what she was going through with this too. So it was kind of a double-edged thing. And on top of that, she still had seizures. And so I just wanted to show the difference. It's not about weight at all for Clara. It never crossed our mind to put her on a diet for any reason. It was about doing something that we hadn't tried. I was thinking of the best way to express to you what life was like for us as a family with Clara's seizures. And I scrolled back through Facebook and I found a post that I made around that time when she started struggling. I thought the best thing I can do is just read this because it was how I felt then, and you'll understand why. How do you do something so drastic as to put your child on a diet that most people think most people give me the evil eye, honestly. In this community, they do not. But in other communities, they do, because they don't understand. But anyway, this is a Facebook post that I wrote because I figure I could tell it better in my own words than this many years later, trying to remember. October 16th, 2012. I was writing this on October 16th, 2013. 1 year ago today was one of the scariest days of my life. My daughter Clara, who had just turned 5, had her first seizure. She had always been extraordinarily healthy, never an ear infection, no stomach problems, even colds were extremely rare. I still feel like I can remember every second of the day that led up to it happening. Afterwards is all a blur. She was unresponsive for hours, about 4.5 hours. Blood pressure was very low. She was sent from Dan River Medical Center to the pediatric unit at Carilion Hospital in Roanoke, where she was stabilized. Despite the excellent care, we did not get any answers. There were many theories, and we followed up on all of them. Some doctors thought it was a one-time occurrence. We prayed that was true and moved on with life. Exactly 2 months later, on December 16th, Clara had a severe grand mal seizure. We almost lost her. Excuse the graphic description, but her little 45-pound body jerked and twisted. Foam and blood came from her mouth and her bladder released. We were scared to death. I felt some relief as the paramedics arrived. Sorry. But it was short-lived. Looking at their faces and hearing them talk urgently amongst themselves, I knew things were very bad. They were unable to intubate her and called a doctor to meet them en route. They told him their oxygen levels were extremely low and they had been unable to stabilize her. The doctor attempted to as well, but nothing changed. After reaching the hospital, the breathing tube was inserted, but she continued to seize for hours. Finally, they came back and gave her a paralytic so that they could try to do the necessary tests. They explained that she was still having the seizure, but her body could not move because of the meds. We were rushed by ambulance to Roanoke again. They wanted to airlift, but it was too foggy. She was still unconscious and had a breathing tube. From that point, it was 20 hours until she finally opened her eyes and looked at us. They did not know how she would be or if there was any damage. The breathing tube came out a few hours later. Then the most wonderful thing happened. With a small, raspy voice, she said, "Mama." In that moment, I knew everything was okay. Her mind was okay. She knew me. Eventually, she was diagnosed with childhood epilepsy, cause unknown. They started her on meds. At home, she continued to have seizures many nights. They upped the meds, and eventually that stopped. At the time of writing this, it had been over 6 months since she had had any seizure at all. We were so thrilled and grateful. It's been a tough year, and the experience has taken a toll on her and us. The medication has changed her in so many ways. We accept it because it's doing its job, but I still worry. For us, in the beginning, I didn't sleep at all. I laid right in bed beside her every night, just watching and checking her every breath and movement. If I finally had to sleep, Mike slept right beside her. It's only been in the last 2 months that she's been back in her own room and in her own bed at all. Even still, I get up to check on her several times a night. It's now like a built-in instinct. I've noticed Mike does the same thing. We lost that sense of safeness. We were those who thought nothing terrible could happen to us because it really hadn't before this. There are a few reasons why I want to share this today. One is to thank everyone who has shown us so much love and care for us and Clara over the last year. Whole groups of people we've never met prayed for her and reached out with loving kindness. Many people still message us regularly to see how she's doing. The second reason is to say that this year has been hard on me. I have not been available to many people who needed me. The depression that was sparked by this incident has been overwhelming for many months, and I didn't leave the house. I still don't very much. I didn't answer calls from friends or accept invitations. I know some people have not understood that, and unfortunately it has caused some broken ties. I'm so sorry for that.
Also, I want to celebrate my sweet angel. She has overcome so much. I'm so proud of her. In kindergarten, I think she missed almost as many days as she was there, especially the first half of the year. Thanks to her teacher, my mom, others, who took so much extra time to teach her and keep her caught up, she still finished the year with all A's. So I hope that wasn't boring. I wanted to share because, again, there's this thing about motivation. When you are properly motivated, you really can do anything. I became properly motivated as a mom. Now that was back in 2013. We didn't discover keto really until 2016. And then I was keto before she was. But basically, I had gone keto. I started not to read that last part, but it's important because you'll hear more about that on Thursday. I was already dealing with depression and mental health issues. This was certainly a trigger. Certainly it sparked it worsening. But I started keto in the beginning of 2016, the very beginning, and Clara became keto in October 1, 2016. My husband became keto somewhere in between there, I think over the summer. But what happened was I had discovered keto and was losing weight and feeling better and having all kinds of amazing, amazing changes that I never expected. And then Clara had a really bad seizure, like bad seizure. We went to her doctor's office. We went to the neurologist. And there in the corner of the room on the sign was something about the Charlie Foundation. And so I didn't know. A lot of people do know that epilepsy has been treated for a very long time with ketogenic diet. I didn't know. I was already keto.
Isn't it from back in the 20s or something?
It was 1929, and it was quite different. I've read a lot about that and studied it because unfortunately some naysayers use that information from back in the 20s to say it's not healthy. But in that case they were giving the kids just unhealthy fats, basically, like any kind of oils, fats, 90% fat, 10%, and they weren't eating a ketogenic diet, and even then it worked. It stopped their seizures, but I think to use that for data about whether a ketogenic diet is healthy is wrong, because that is not what we do today. We use healthy oils and we eat healthy food. So anyway, Clara went keto, and she went keto in October, and within the next few months, by the time we got to May 2017, she had become super keto, Clara. We had struggles, of course. At first with her and her acceptance of it, and then with school and friends and grandparents and everyone else who still who felt like she was deprived in some way. That's one of the biggest questions that I get is, what do you do about the grandparents? It's like my daughter feeds my grandson Dawson any sugar. At my house he eats bacon, so it's like the grandparents do what they want to do. But we made it through all that, and you can see we never thought about it for weight loss at all. We just didn't. I guess I never even saw that she had put on weight. I just cared about her health. But you can see her weight went down to a normal weight. And she started to get excited about telling her story. She asked me to create a page for her on Facebook, and there she has shared about, she shares about some of the things that she makes, food and stuff like that. But she also shares some deeper thoughts on Instagram about how this difference has changed her and what she thinks about keto. So Clara didn't want to just do a speech on her own. That's why I'm talking so much. So she does really well with questions. So I'm going to ask her some questions and let her answer them, because that'll be the best way. And then you guys can ask her or me questions. But we'll start with ones that I get all the time. Okay. It is.
Okay. What did you think when your parents first told you that you were going keto? Closer.
Well, I was kind of sad because I wanted to eat all the stuff.
Do you remember what it was like?
I remember we were at a restaurant and I wanted to order something. I don't remember where it was, but I wanted to order something. You told me to order something healthier and I already knew and I started crying.
So we sprung it on you?
Yes.
So, so you were sad and you were angry. What I remember is you were angry. They were like angry tears more than anything. Okay. Did you do it anyway?
Yeah.
How come?
Because I didn't want to get in trouble, first of all. Because I felt like there was a magical eyes looking over me.
You know I have mommy eyes everywhere. So. Yeah. All right.
And
So
also I'm seeing what happened to you and Daddy, like at the beginning, like when you weren't like keto, but you're like low carb and sometimes.
yeah. What else about that? The beginning. So we sprung it on you that we had decided to make you keto, and you got mad, and then what changed?
I just decided what I have to do it and I'm gonna do it.
Okay.
And then I just got used to it.
Was it as hard as you thought it was going to be?
Not really.
That's important. So a lot of times when we're talking with anyone and we're trying to get them to try keto, they think it's going to be like the worst thing in the world, but is it? Was it?
No, like at first, like I was like I wanted to eat stuff, but I know.
Okay, so here's a question. What did you do about relatives that still offered you, I said sad food, standard American diet food?
Like, no, like granddaddy knew. Like sometimes he still asked about it, and I was like, no, it's fine. I'm not gonna eat it.
So you had to be the one to turn them down. I want to make this really clear. Me telling them not to give her the stuff did not work. It had to be her on her own without us turning them down. So what made you turn them down other than the not getting in trouble thing? Obviously, Gran and Granddaddy would not have told on you.
Obviously.
What made you turn them down?
So, I just wanted to I was trying to be healthier and stuff.
You decided you wanted to be healthier?
And after a little while, first it was because I didn't want to get in trouble.
And then, but then when I wasn't there and you knew there was no chance of you really getting in trouble, why would you speak up? You had many opportunities to cheat. Yes, I'll just say it. Why didn't you when you could have gotten away with it?
Because, like, after a while, I just, like, I knew it would make me better.
So starting to actually get better became an incentive
Yeah.
for you to not go off plan. So I think one of the things that we did that a lot of parents don't do is we've really educated Clara. You know, Nancy talked about reading labels. She can pick up any label and tell you every single thing about it. She'll tell you the offensive ingredients, if they're high up on the list or low. She can tell you all the different names for sugar, and she's just really, really good. And so we educated her on how this would help for epilepsy. Now, behind the scenes, Mike and I had gone back and forth, like, how in the world can we get our kid or tell her that she has got to give up all grains and all the fruit except for a few berries? And it really came down to this, and I think I explained it to her this way the day that we told her, but she may have been too upset to remember it. But I said, honey, I've read all about this, and there is a chance that this could help you. And you might feel like I'm being a terrible mom by taking these things away, but I would really be a terrible mom if I knew of something that could help you and I didn't try it. And I just decided, even at 9 years old, she could handle the truth. So that's how we worked it out between ourselves. And from that point on, we were committed to it. And again, you'll hear more about my story, but it's helped me to have her doing this. Like, for me to have to be the example. I have so many reasons that inspire me and so many reasons that I stay clean from my food addiction. But the main thing is looking at her and saying, I have to. And if I have the right motivation, I can stay clean. So can she. She has it, I have it, so can anybody. And so I tell this story, again, it's not just to say, hey, guess what? Keto can help epilepsy. It's to say, it doesn't matter what age you are. It's wanting to do it and understanding why. A couple more questions. How did your friends and classmates react?
They thought it was like weird because we always like share our snacks and stuff, like chips and stuff like that. And they asked me if I wanted it, and I just told them I can't have it anymore.
Did any of them make fun of you?
My friends didn't make fun of me. They just thought I was weird. But then they got it after a while.
But what about other people that weren't as close to you? Did you ever struggle with people in school?
Kind of.
Like what?
Just like a normal. Sometimes the boys run around.
Okay, so you don't want to tell? So Clara did come home unhappy a few days, and of course I noticed her expression and I wanted to know what's going on, and she said the boys were making fun of her food. And of course, you know, I was all fired up. She's like, please don't go do anything. But what they were doing is they were going around saying that Clara was on a diet, or she was doing a. She's saying it wasn't just the boys, it was some girls that weren't closer to her either. But they were going around saying Clara was on a diet and that she was on a health challenge. And you know, that was what, 5th grade? Fourth grade. That was, yeah, 4th grade. And kids can be insensitive. They can be mean. I would make her some like keto bread and take a sandwich, and she was so happy to have a sandwich because like that's normal, and they would make fun of that. So I think that's one of the things we encounter, and again, this is teaching our children to do better by others. But I bring it up because again, she didn't give in. For all that, she still didn't give in. And I'll tell this part because I don't know if she'll go there, but so that was in the beginning. As of last year, the kids would come to her and say, Clara, read this label for me and tell me if this is good or bad. How much sugar does it have in it? Tell me what's in it. Does it have too many carbs? The teachers asked me to come to the school and talk about, well, they didn't let me say the word keto, but they let me come to the, they asked me to come to the school and talk about eating healthy and eliminating sugar. Which is amazing. So we went from a culture of being made fun of and misunderstood to it actually being an opportunity to make a difference for people. And I had a couple of the moms text me and say, oh my gosh, we just went to whatever store and my daughter insisted she was not going to eat sugar. Some of them don't like me. You know, literally I had a mom say, I'm not getting up early and making that for my kid. A Lunchable is what she's getting. And I mean, at least she was being honest. But there are people that are angry sometimes because they feel like you're judging the way that they parent. And that's not the case. It's just that the way that different people parent has no bearing on what we need to do for Clara.
They feel guilty because they're not doing it.
Right,
Yeah.
yes. It's not us literally saying anything. What's been the most challenging situations for you in remaining keto for 3 years solid?
Well, at the beginning, it was like, you know, because they have school parties, and usually at school parties, there's no actual food. It's just like chips and cupcakes and stuff like that. And then 2 years I went away to camp, and they didn't have a
Without
lot
me.
of food that I could eat.
So, are you saying that you went away to camp without your parents, without anyone else keto there, without taking your own food, and you stayed keto?
Yes.
I'm just saying, I'm just saying, you can do it if you need to do it. So yeah, I would say that's a challenging situation. I can also think of times where you had like summer parties and they ordered pizza and, had donuts for kids. Again, the point being that if you think your life is too challenging and that you face too much pressure at work or everybody's in the break room eating, remember, Clara, there's a lot of pressure from kids, preteen kids. So you don't have to give in if you have a good enough reason. What do you do on birthdays, special occasions, and holidays?
Well, sometimes, like, at our house, we make, like, keto treats and stuff for, like, holidays and stuff. But if I'm going to, like, a birthday party and they have pizza and junk, we pack our own things.
Maybe our real good foods.
We just pack our own things and I'll eat those instead. Because most people, like, usually when I go to birthday parties, it's, like, people from my class, so they get it.
And I also wanted to add that I started showing up at every single class party with some keto cookies or keto cake pops. I figured out how to do a lot of things and make them really good on keto. Of course, people ask me for the recipe and I don't use them. It's terrible. I just put stuff in there until it tastes good. And so they're really mad about that. But I do it for Clara. But the kids were crazy about the keto treats. They ate all the cookies. I mean, they ignored the junk food that's there, and they always would choose the keto brownies or cupcakes or cookies or cake. And when I would come to her school for any reason, they come running up to me, when are you going to bring us another keto cake? I mean, so I just want to, again, point out that kids can learn. They can handle big changes. We don't give them credit for that. And honestly, there's enough stuff that you can make healthy that any kid could be a keto kid if that was your choice. And I think it's a good choice. All right, here's a big question, last one from me. If you didn't have epilepsy and you could choose what to eat, what would you change?
I'll probably eat, like, the same, like, you guys were eating that one. Like, if I didn't know what I did now, I'll probably still be eating the same things that I eat.
Yeah. So are you glad to be keto?
Yeah.
Does it make you sad now? I said this to a parent, and they said, how in the world did you deal with Clara when she was detoxing from sugar and carbs? And she was eating compulsively because, as you'll hear, I struggled with that. And I said, I'd rather hold her hand while she detoxes than hold her hand while she goes through diabetes and other illnesses and being made fun of for obesity. And we're going to have to be there for them one way or the other. I'd rather do it now. I'm not going to wait until she is full-blown food addict and sick to try to undo her habits from childhood. In a way, I think we're blessed. We would never have considered this if it weren't for the epilepsy. So a theme in our lives is that all these terrible things, these horrible situations, in some way have turned out for good. And for us, it's that I know that Clara, as she continues to eat this way and as she grows up, I'll never ever have to get that call from her that she has diabetes. She does not have to have that. So anyway, we are grateful and humble, and we are just thankful for the opportunity. This is mine and Clara's first time doing it together. Questions from the audience for either one of us?
Can you
Go-
flip
take-
back that one that you just went through?
Oh, yeah, I meant to put this up when I was asking Clara questions, but I forgot. That one?
Oh, yeah, that's.
That one?
Neat. The one just before,
Yeah.
yeah, that one.
Yeah, I meant to have that up while I was asking Clara questions, but I forgot. I forget I have slides lots of times. I just start talking. All right. Are we good here? I'm going to go to the next one?
Yes.
There we go. All right, so you want to take the microphone to whoever? He has a question
I
for
have a
you.
question. So this, for both of you, but first of all, Jessica, I know that anticonvulsant meds can have a very depressive effect and sedative effect. And I'm sure that her personality suffered during the time that she was on the heavy medications. How did you see her come around after starting her on the diet and start weaning her off of the meds? And then how did Jessica feel as she came off the meds as well?
Claire, why don't you talk about how you felt during that time?
I felt like, sad and stuff.
She literally did go through feeling depressed, but the mood swings were terrible. Like just, it was almost like raging hormones, but she was 9. It just, like she had extreme highs, extreme lows, they would start and stop. I should have said this, I should have made a bigger deal about this, but I mentioned it there in the slide. When Clara was in 4th grade, she took a reading assessment and she took a overall assessment, and we're like, ooh, our baby's smart. She tests at 5th grade level. So 1 year later, same test, the only difference being keto, and she actually took the test fasted. That was her choice. I didn't make her eat. But she actually was at 12th grade level in all subjects. So one thing changed, her diet. So we were like, our kid's smart, she's 1 year ahead. And then all of a sudden the next year it's like leaps and bounds and reading and comprehending books for kids that are in high school. And that's really only increased. This last testing period last year, she was at level 13, which is college first year. So again, that's her brain operating wonderfully, beautifully, proof of it, really. This is anecdotal. I'm telling you my daughter started eating this way and she stopped having seizures. That's a great story. I have papers. I have before and after in her grades and her test scores, and it's dramatically different, and this is the only thing that changed. So that, if that answers too. And so her brain improved, and I think she started being herself again. She is shy, but she is super funny. She has a dry sense of humor like her dad. And she's very sarcastic. She's fluent in sarcasm. But her personality came back, basically, getting off the meds and on keto. Other questions?
You know, Clara has a lot in common with the Navy SEALs. They found out a lot of their divers were having seizures after diving. So they did some research and found out about the epilepsy studies back in the old days. So now, before the teams do a lot of dive training or diving missions, put them on a ketogenic lifestyle to get their brain set, get their nervous system working right. So you have a lot in common with all of our warriors.
Any other questions for Clara or for me as a keto parent?
I got one for you. If you could have one thing to eat right now, Clara, because you're hungry, what would it be? Where can I go eat right now?
Probably just me.
Just me.
She said probably just meat.
Just me, okay.
I will say that I think that just to connect to all the other conversation we had, in the beginning, we really did make a ton of keto treats and stuff to keep her interested. But now that she is 12 years old, I'll be, I work with clients, I'll be in the office with the door shut and I'll just smell her in there cooking burgers and eggs. And like, she just takes care of herself and feeds her, so she does choose what she wants, and it's basically eggs or hamburger most of the time, every once in a while steak with butter.
That's great.
I was gonna ask you, what is your favorite meal?
I don't know if I really have a favorite. Something that I eat a lot, usually at home, it's just like we usually just have like ground beef and like cream cheese and stuff
There
like
you
that.
That sounds good. Yep.
Good job.
Yep.
Again, I'm like, I sound like a terrible mom right now. One of the things we do as a ketogenic family is we will cook. I am very, very busy. I just am. I work more than full-time and then have other responsibilities too. But one thing we always do is we make sure there's meat cooked in the house. And then when Mike comes in from work, he gets a chunk of meat and he does what he wants to do with it. If I, have time between clients, I'll get something and have it. Or Clara will go in there and she'll heat up meat and put cream cheese and some other sauce with it. So if you have meat prepared, it's easy to add your fats and anything else you want to it. And I can have Mexican and she can have Italian in the same day because we've got the meat. So it's just an easy tip for if your whole household is doing that. My husband's protein needs are much higher than mine, so he just eats more of it. Anybody else? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Oh, bacon.